A very good evening to everyone on this special occasion. Today we are celebrating the third event of Heritage Center Day 2025. The Heritage Center of IIT Madras was inaugurated on 3rd March 2006. We have now stepped into the 20th year of the Heritage Center's existence.
We will begin this evening's proceedings with a welcome address by Professor P. Sriram, the faculty in charge of the Heritage Center. I request Professor Sriram to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Susma Bhuvanesh. I'm very happy to welcome all of you for this function. I'm very happy to note that Heritage Center has completed 19 years of functioning. I'm very happy that it gives me great pleasure. I'm very glad that this term heritage is working out well. We have various forms of heritage, right? I mean, everybody knows IIT Madras, great educational institution, but that's not all there is. Our heritage has a lot more. I think today's theme is going to highlight that very nice. The campus and the wildlife and all that. So I'm very happy we have been able to organize our anniversary celebration and Heritage Day with a talk featuring wildlife, our heritage of our campus that we have here. I'm very glad to be associated. I've been associated with the center earlier, given some talks and so on. Now I'm finally, as a professor in charge one last time. Before I retire later this year, we have to get some other person to take over as professor in charge. But I'm very happy we are able to organize this Heritage Center Day. And thank you all for coming. I think we will continue with the program. I have nothing more to add.
Thank you, Professor Sriram. I now request Mr. Kumaran Sathasivam, Operational Head of the Heritage Center, to introduce today's event.
As Bhuvanesh has already mentioned, Heritage Center was inaugurated on the 3rd March 2006 by Professor R. Ramachandran, former director of the institute. So the Heritage Center Day as an event commemorates that inauguration, and Heritage Center Day is an opportunity to celebrate the heritage and history of IIT Madras. Hitherto, we've celebrated Heritage Center Day with talks, with unveiling of new exhibits. We've had prize giving, music performances, skits, and so on. And these have always been conducted within a time span of an hour and a half or so till now. This year, Heritage Center Day is being celebrated in a slightly different fashion, in the sense that there are multiple events, 3 events effectively, which have been spread out on different days. The first one was celebrated on the birthday of the Heritage Center on 3rd March, which was the opening of an exhibition, an art exhibition at the dome of the Heritage Center. It's titled IIT Madras on Canvas. Second event took place on Sunday, the 16th of March. We had the Heritage Treasure Hunt. So this that we are gathered for today is the third event, and we are very shortly to hear our distinguished chief guest address us. This Heritage Center Day event is co-organized with Prakriti, the Wildlife Club of IIT Madras. Many of us may be aware that among the black buck that we see on campus increasingly now, occasionally you see a white black buck or two. So this was a point of curiosity, and I went into the origins of where these white black buck came from. There were reports saying that white animals had been introduced into the Guindy forest some 70 years back, and I wanted to check the authenticity of those reports, and I searched and I found that Dr. Ranjitsinh had written a book called The Indian Black Buck. So I went in search of that book. It was not available, and my searches eventually led me to the author himself. So let me say that Dr. Ranjitsinh was kind enough to give a copy of that book, which is now out of print, to the Heritage Center. You can refer to it there. my conversation with him continued, and it was not long before I requested him to give a talk here, and again, very soon we are going to hear him. Happy event. Some of us here will remember that there was a time when the railway sleepers on which the railway tracks are placed used to be made of wood. People of a certain vintage will remember it, like me. So that was the situation. And these sleepers were made out of teak or sal. And these are trees that grow in the forests, Indian forests. And you can imagine with the growth of the railways and so forth. I always knew that IIT Madras had carried out project in which these concrete sleepers had been tested in the structural engineering lab, and sir, pre-stressed, yes, and not only was the testing done here because we had the unique facility for doing that in the country, we also developed, the civil engineering department developed a system of producing these sleepers in large quantities so that it meet the demand of the country, and that's really something I knew. But I was reading Dr. Ranjitsinh Singh's book, which is titled A Life with Wildlife, and I was pleasantly surprised to note that he had a big role in this. Dr. Ranjitsinh Singh had seen the devastating effects of extracting timber for these purposes, and he had proposed to the minister then that we convert to a different material, and that's a big role that he has played there. So we could say that IIT Madras and Dr. Ranjitsinh Singh are responsible for the concrete sleepers that we see being used by the Indian Railways today. I had mentioned that there was prize giving done at Heritage Center Day events, and so that is going to follow immediately. So we'll finish that and then we'll wait for our chief guest address. So all my colleagues as well as Prakriti have been working to make this event a success, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Now we will hand out the prizes to the winners of the Heritage Treasure Hunt 2025. I request the teams to come up to the stage as we call out the names.
I kindly request Professor P. Sriram to hand out the prizes. In third place, we have three teams: Srividya Sridhar Kumar and team, B. Satya and team, and Rohit R and team. Please give them a big round of applause. Can we have Srividya's team first? B. Satya and team. Now Rohit R and team. Staff team.
In the second place, we have Madineni Venkata Saiteja and team. Please give them a big round of applause.
Okay, since they're not here, we can move on to the first place. In the first place, we have Astha Chand and team. Please give them a massive round of applause. We thank all the participants of the Heritage Treasure Hunt 2025 for showing up for the event and making it a grand success.
Next, we would like to award the winners of the Classified Divertisements Contest organized by the Heritage Center with gift vouchers.
I request Ashita Y to come up to the stage to receive her prize for her 4 outstanding entries. Please put your hands together for Ashita. Next, I would like to request Satya B to receive his prize for his hilarious entry. Please give him a round of applause.
I kindly request Professor Satyan Subaya to come up to the stage and receive his prize for his amusing entry. Okay. Next, I request Parthiban R to come up and receive his prize. Please put your hands together for the winners of the Classified Divertisements Contest. The winning entries will be published in the next issue of Glass Panels, the Heritage Center's bi-monthly magazine.
Now, we would like to felicitate Professor Parag Ravindran and Dr. G. Balaganesan with mementos and a certificate for their outstanding support and contributions to the Heritage Center of IIT Madras. Professor Parag has been key in organizing the Heritage Treasure Hunt in the last couple of years. His unwavering dedication in organizing the event has seen the popularity of the treasure hunt reach great heights. It is one of the most popular events on campus today, thanks to him. I kindly request Professor Parag Ravindran to come up to the stage and receive his award. Please give him a round of applause.
Dr. G. Balaganesan, head of the Central Workshop, has always been a big factor in making sure the Heritage Center exhibits stand out to our visitors. With his help in 3D printing, carpentry, and much more, we have been able to put up some wonderful exhibits such as the butterfly box and time capsule. His perennial smile and willingness to help us out on any occasion has made the Heritage Center stand out among all the IIT Madras facilities. I request Dr. G. Balaganesan, head of the Central Workshop, to come up to the stage and receive his award. Please put your hands together for Dr. Balaganesan. Now, Professor Susy Varughese will introduce our chief guest for today's event, Dr. M.K. Ranjitsinh. I request Professor Varughese to come up to the stage and say a few words about our chief guest.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Heritage Center Annual Day, we have one of the most distinguished guests one can get in this campus, especially the doyen of Indian wildlife conservation efforts. I have a huge, biodata in front of me to, introduce. But the things one can achieve in lifetime is something that is, he is an example of what one can achieve. I'll just read some few excerpts from the biodata here. Dr. Ranjitsinh Jhala started his career as an IAS officer in 1961 with the goal of serving India's wildlife and its conservation. So he had a goal while starting off as an IAS officer. Introduced to India's forest and wildlife from the pre-independence era as a child, Dr. Ranjitsingh's passion for wildlife conservation and protection of the environment, not only of India but globally, is reflected in his numerous and gigantic efforts in the decades that followed. A brief glimpse of which is presented here. As collector of Mandla from 1967 to 70, he was responsible for the first efforts to save from extinction the Central Indian race of Barasingha, which was down to just 66 animals. So the first time the effort to translocate villages from outside outside of national park was initiated by him, and during this period and many other translocations followed after this first translocation effort that has happened in 67 to 70 period. It was also at his instance that the Kanha National Park was extended and the habitat was better managed, as a result of which this race of Barasingha has now increased to over 400 in numbers. Following this, he became the Deputy Secretary Forest and Wildlife for the Government of India and drafted and piloted the most important contribution of his career, the Wildlife Protection Act of India, 1972, the first comprehensive wildlife legislation applicable to the whole country, and which has been the legal basis of wildlife conservation and for the establishment of national parks and sanctuaries in the country, and is responsible to a great degree for the progress made by India in this regard. One should also remember that he was an young, 32-year-old IAS officer at that time to achieve this momentous, fate, which is very, very important for India's wildlife today. Dr. Ranjitsinh Singh was the first Director of Wildlife Preservation of India under this Act from 73 to 75, and drafted the schemes for financial assistance to the states of India from the central government for establishing national parks and sanctuaries, and he also served a second term from 1985 to 89. Another important thing is that he has also helped bring back many species from, almost at the brink of extinction. One is the Manipur race of brow-antlered deer, which was brought back from extinction by encouraging and upgradation of the Kaibul Lamjao to a national park and other conservation measures, as a result of which the population has now raised to more than 100. And similarly, in Kerala, when the government of Kerala acquired some tea estate in the Irabikulam Rajamalai range from private tea estate owners in 1973, and the government was wishing to give away the land to people, distribute the land, he intervened and was responsible for establishing the Irabikulam National Park, now holding more than half of the world's population of the endangered Nilgiri thar, which is also the state animal of Tamil Nadu, by the way. Okay, so as the member secretary, and also he was mentioning today that, how it became the state animal of Tamil Nadu by his intervention, of making this. We all know that, there are state animals for different states have different animals and birds representing them. He's one of the, key persons in bringing this into force. And also as the member secretary of the task force for formulating the Project Tiger. Okay, that's another, assisted in the identification of first tiger reserves and the initiation of Project Tiger, the most ambitious and one of the most successful conservation projects in the world. Was responsible for the curtailment of the final ban of exports of snakes and lizard skins and of furs and rhesus monkeys. All these were going on, in India, even post-independence, and all this had to be stopped to save the wildlife of India. He was also responsible for launching the of successful captive breeding and rehabilitation program for the 3 species of crocodilians in India, all 3 endangered, especially the gharial, and which have now been made safe in the wild. He also rendered technical service, advice in nature conservation, ecosystem management and legislation to many Southeast Asian countries, and including Thailand, Mongolia, Bhutan, Malaysia, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. And for example, he was the leader of the team which drafted the conservation strategy for the government of Bangladesh, and he also prepared the first draft of the cooperative environment program for the South Asian countries. He also did, as a forest secretary, he also served as a forest secretary of the state of Madhya Pradesh, which has almost 1/4 of the forests of India. He was also personally responsible for the establishment of 8 new national parks and 11 wildlife sanctuaries with a total area of 12,000 square kilometers, and extended the boundaries of 3 existing national parks and sanctuaries. Among the many protected areas, one is Van Vihar, which is located in the heart of a city of Bhopal, and and it is surviving populations of the highly endangered Asiatic wild buffalo can be found in this habitat. He also carried out a complete reorganization of the forest department of the state and set it up in its present format with an emphasis upon conservation rather than enhanced and sustainable exploitation, because many times forest departments use forest resources for enhancing their income. So the focus of the forest department in conservation is one of the important focus points he brought out as an administrator. And also reorganized and upgraded the wildlife wing and assisted in the drafting, piloting and implementing of comprehensive legislation on the control of sawmills to prevent illegal exploitation of forests, the first of its kind in the country. So in addition to what Kumaran has mentioned, converting wooden logs in the railways to the use of concrete blocks, it has saved a lot of trees and forests of India. And he is also also the member secretary of Indian Board of Wildlife. As a member of the member secretary, he also encouraged the state governments to establish national parks and wildlife sanctuaries on biogeographic and ecosystem basis. And a number of new protected areas were established, especially in the Himalayas and in the Andaman Nicobar Islands, and ultimately increasing the total number to over 500 countrywide. Actually, today we have more than 1,000 protected areas. Big applause to him. He is one of the big person behind, a person behind. He was also responsible for the amendment of the Indian Wildlife Protection Act 1972 and thereby totally banning the trade of endangered species in the country, and also was responsible for the initiation of the project of conservation of the snow leopard and its habitat on the lines of Project Tiger. So not only Project Tiger, Project Snow Leopard as well. And he was also associated with the cheetah, relocation to India, reintroduction to India. Also piloted the final drafting of the approval in Parliament of the present National Forest Policy of India. So there is a lot of things to say about you, sir. And I would suggest all of you referring to what he has achieved in his, which is beyond anybody can think of. I would say a big thank you to you, and we are eagerly waiting for your talk. He also has, in addition to this, by the way, I have to mention this, that he has also done research on black buck. And this is one of the reasons why we are also very happy to have him here, which is also one of the last forays of this species in this, southern Tamil Nadu region, or in this Coromandel coast, for example, other than Point Calimere Sanctuary and Vellanadu Sanctuary that we have. So we also have a huge responsibility to protect this species in a, it's a kind of an island which is inside an urban area, and which brings in a lot of pressure on this species. And as a kind of gratitude to him, I would say that we should take a pledge to protect this species here and in Guindy. Okay, thank you. And I welcome Dr. Ranjitsinh to deliver his talk. And I also request Professor Sriram to give a moment to Dr. Ranjitsinh before the talk starts.
Professor Sriram, Professor Kumaran, Professor Varughese, and friends. I am very, very deeply honored by this invitation, and by coming here, I'd heard about the campus and the contribution by the institution, but I never realized till I went round just today what a transformation this is. To have such an organization in a city is remarkable, and it should be publicized and it should be replicated. And I think the Forest Department can also learn certain lessons from you. What the professor has done, what the director, and the whole thing is that it went from one director to the other, I believe, of limiting the speed, of imposing fines on those who violated it and damaged animals and nature. Honestly, I was born too early, but I would have liked to have been a student here. I would have learned something, and I would have been very proud to have been here. And I don't think the black buck, since it comes to the black buck, I'll keep the black buck to the last, and I hope I don't talk too much. I don't think the black buck is as safe anywhere outside the Bishnoi community areas in the whole of the country as in this place. And the Bishnois will be proud to hear, and I have a feeling that Madam Susy Varughese was probably a Bishnoi guru in her past life, in a previous. Yeah, they would have been very proud, because the whole thing is not money, but commitment and application. And if the heart is in the right place, it makes so much difference. And that would be a part of my talk too, because it's very, very interesting. And I can probably begin. I've been asked to talk about my life, but my life is not as important as conservation. But anyway, I'll try to touch upon it. But while I'm on the subject, and if I digress, I may be excused. In India, and this has been a theme of mine in the book also, it's very interesting. Despite the most difficult circumstances, at times India is almost an ungovernable country. Poverty, lack of knowledge, land hunger, humongous pressure on land, and yet I've been to over 100 countries and I've had a lot of experience by the grace of God. There is no country in the world where it is easier to save nature than in India. And that is because of a number of things. We are vegetarian. There is an empathy for nature. Certain species are sacrosanct, certain trees are sacrosanct, and that's why the Nilgaya and the banyan and that. So it is a very easy, but there is a catch to it. We are passive. We are passive conservationists. We do not kill, but we do not stop others from doing it. Only a few communities do that. And that is where the catch is. And there is no green party here. Conservation has always come in India from the top, not from below, which it should be. It's a paradox. It's never come from below. It's always come from the top. And it's come from the princes and the viceroys and the British and those prime ministers in India who were interested in nature. It's interesting, but it's true. I come from a princely background, but I do not hold a brief all those that they shot. But look what happened. It's an extremely selfish act of killing. But to kill that tiger, you have to protect the entire ecosystem. You have to protect the prey. You have to protect the habitat. And therefore, they left behind, the British also, the hunting reserves of the British and of the Maharajas. During my second tenure as Director of Wildlife of India in the 80s, when I came back from Madhya Pradesh, the Bhopal gas tragedy, I made a count, and 86% of our national parks and sanctuaries were the hunting reserves of the British and of the princes. If that was the legacy that was left behind, and you see, there is a theme that you cannot forget. No predator drives its prey to extinction. It's the people can. It's not in the interest to drive the prey to extinction. So they maintained that. There was no Wildlife Act in my grandfather's time, but nobody dare kill anything without his permission. And so because that was again very selfish. I shall kill, thou shalt not. So वो उससे चला आ रहा था. But we lost it. We lost it after independence. And what was lost in those 10 years was very, very hard to retrieve. Coming to the black buck alone, we're talking about the black buck population in my own province of Saurashtra dropped from 85 to 90,000 roughly to less than 2,000 in 7 years or 8 years. Just crashed because arms licenses were given, they were in the fields, and etc. Anyway, I won't go into that. She mentioned about the Barasinga and the Sangai. These Sangai are now over 200 and the Barasinga are now 900 from 64. And they have been reintroduced in Satpura National Park. The Satpura National Park is a very special park because there the two biomes meet, the Sal and the teak. And it has both the teak fauna and the Sal fauna. And at one water hole, I've seen 5 gallinaceous birds drink. Peacock, of course, grey jungle fowl, red jungle fowl, red spur fowl, painted spur fowl. Two animals of the teak area, two birds of the thing, all together. So, it's one of the best things I've done to declare it. But there is a story to that, and that is, I long came to realize, as far as I go, much before, that the only havens of hope for nature to survive in India are effectively managed protected areas. Baki to, with the pressure on land and with politics, it was a gamble. It was never safe. So I made it a life mission to make as many parks and sanctuaries as possible, and to tell the state chief wildlife wardens whom I used to meet and the forest secretaries, and give them a carrot and a rod kind of a thing. If you do this, why don't you pick that into a park? Why don't you do this here? We'll give you money. And the center. And they did, because the boss wanted it. As forest secretary of Madhya Pradesh, my minister and my deputy minister for forest wanted their own areas to be notified. The sanctuaries within. The problem is that conservation doesn't get you votes. And votes is what matters to the politician, most of all. And it happens then, happens now. And they wanted to notify. I said, sir, please give me an order in writing. Order in writing. I will put it up to the PMO. And if she agrees, we will de-notify. किसी की हिम्मत होती है कि वहाँ फाइल डालने दे, तो that is the catch. The game is changed now, but there it is. So, as I said, it was that wish to conserve, to protect, has come always from the top, and that is where we wait for a cue. And what I was able to achieve, I belong to no political party. I do not believe in political parties. My elder brother was the first Minister for Environment, but I don't subscribe to any politics. And I keep away from the best thing that has happened to me in retirement is that I can keep away from politicians, but that's another story. But the fact remains that we need political support. If somebody asks me कि तुमको एक वरदान क्या चाहिए for conservation, I'd say political support. But there it is. Now, I've mentioned about the thing. Let me mention that conservation, and I don't want to go into my own story about the parks and sanctuaries I've already said, but coming to Satpura that I've mentioned, I was making this thing, and I was getting hints from the chief minister कि अब मत बनाना. I used to make them without anybody's permission, without informing even my minister or the chief minister or the. I used to sit across with the chief wildlife warden, just notify them, and then inform my minister and the chief minister. Suchnartha Prastut, submitted for information. The deed has been done. I would have been thrown out in 3 days today. Anyway, but there it was. And so I was given this hint. And then I wanted to make Satpura National Park, but Satpura yielded at that time, which 60 lakhs per year, which was a lot of money in 1980s. My salary was about 2,000 rupees as forest secretary. And I had planned it out, which is, so the principal chief conservator of forest, very good man, came and sought an appointment. Sir, I want to come in. And he came, and I only him. And he said, sir, you have been declaring parks and sanctuaries and we are with you. But please don't do this. You are not taking anybody's permission, not even informing the finance department. But we are able to hide the loss in revenue. Because you make a park, you lose money. You do not cut trees or you do not. And because it's a question of demand and supply, you stopping it here, but the price of neighboring teak and sal areas are going up. Mind you, this was at that time, Chhattisgarh was a part of Madhya Pradesh, 1/3 of the forest of the whole country. That's why I went to Madhya Pradesh and not to my own state. Anyway, so, but he says, this one we can't hide. You will lose 60 lakhs a year and we can't hide this. And if there is a question asked and you are transferred, we don't want to lose you as Forest Secretary. So I held back. And didn't declare it for a year almost. Then I went up on top of Dhupkar one day with my family, the highest point in Madhya Pradesh, and looked down into this magnificent forest. And far away, where the cave paintings are, I saw smoke coming up. So I said, what's happening? Why is there fire there? He says, they must be burning the ground for fresh crop of tendu patta, the patta from which bidi is made. You know bidi? Kendu trees. And when I asked, that was for 30 bags of kendu. The whole forest was burning. I said, kuch bhi hua. Take the bull by the horn, and I declared it as a sanctuary and a park. And I think it's one of the better things I've done in life. But it's a magnificent park, and the Barasingha have gone back there because they were there once. Anyway, that was my involvement. But we now talk about conservation versus development. The two are side by side. But can you have development, even human existence, without conservation? This is where education and awareness is lacking. And this is the sad part of the story. It's not just animals and birds. It's the ecosystemic advantages and the benefits that flow from protection. Forests, and here grasslands come in very, very importantly, because grasslands are the biggest, the most productive terrestrial ecosystems in the world. Per capita biomass, the greatest animal concentration have evolved on those open plains supporting huge area biomass of wild animals. Man evolved in South Africa and Africa because the animals were there, because the food was there. And the same applies, the most productive ecosystems in India also were the grasslands and the grassland forest mosaics like you have here. But the grassland ecology is the least studied because we have inherited the forestry from the Germans, and they taught us how to grow sal and teak and bamboo, but nothing more. Bamboo is also a grass, but that was all they knew about grass. And they converted the existing grassland into forest villages so that they could get free labor to operate the forest. That was then, when there were a lot of forest, and you needed money from the forest. But to work them. And they did it in a very precise German way. But that was 1870s, 60s and 70s, not now. Now, and when the forester takes pride, they used to, DFO, we earned so much, and we won so much, or when I used to say, what is your title? Are you the chief conservator or the deputy conservator of forest, or the chief exploiter or the deputy exploiter of forest? So, I mean, your thing is conservation, and conservation and development can go side by side. It's the art of the possible. It's a compromise, but then life is a compromise. And like administration, it's a lot of things. What we say is, don't do this, do it this way. Let this be. It will cost a little more, but so what? And to give you just two examples, without boring you, about the ecosystemic, they produce, number one, oxygen. And oxygen sequestration is the most important thing to prevent climate change. We all know it. But we talk. But what do we do about it? Now, the second most thing is water. You can't live without water. I took a count when I was Director of Wildlife, and 86 perennial streams of India have their source in national parks and sanctuaries. Your in the mountains, and this is climate change worst thing, the glaciers are melting. What will happen when we do not have water? And the interesting thing is that these glacial rivers which come out provide greater water in the summer when the snow melt takes place in the Himalaya and Trans-Himalaya, and therefore they complement the monsoonal flow in those areas. And we want to dry those up too. The Conservation Act amendment, which we are fighting in court, says that any area along the border, 100 kilometers, will be not under the Forest Conservation Act. So the whole of the Himalayas goes. But I won't go into that. So there it is. They give you water. When we established Paramau as one of the 9 first tiger reserves, we had no money, so we gave 1 tiger reserve per state, that's 9 range countries. Now, of course, Bihar has become 2, Jharkhand and Madhya Pradesh has become 2. But at that time, 9 states and 9. That is when we began. And there was a very good DFO there. Unfortunately, we didn't do it elsewhere, but he did it. 2 years, and it's a drought-prone area. It was suffering from a drought, I remember, when we first went and established it. In 3 years, he took a stock of the rivers and the rivulets that flowed out from Paramau into 4 categories. Those that were flowing up to the end of September, totally monsoonal. Those that flowed up to the end of December. Those that flowed up to the end of March, quarters. And those that were perennial. And in 3 years of protection and prevention of fire, overgrazing, denudation, 3 years only, the streams that were flowing till the end of September started flowing till the end of December. The December ending things started flowing till the end of March, and the March streams become perennial. If that was what Palamau was giving to the people of India, it was more important than the 6 blessed tigers that were then existing in that park, and I love tigers. But this is the economic value, but nobody tells about this. A study, and since we are talking about facts and figures, a study which was done in the Gir National Park. In 2002, this thing is even more important now. 2002, the Agriculture University of Saurashtra, based in Junagadh, close to, carried out a study of the ecological and the economic value of the Gir National Park and Sanctuary. The two are synonymous. I've been involved with them all my life. Anyway, it was found that he categorized those, and mind you, on the Gir, the government gets no money. They have to spend money on the staff protection. that is the animals going out from there. The livestock is preyed upon by the lion, which have to be compensated. The pigs and the cheetal and the sambar and the nilgai go out and raid crops, so that's damage. But 15 kilometers away, there is no damage. And yet, please see the difference. And this is done by a technical study by a university, that the net profit per hectare of agricultural land was 35,000 rupees per hectare in 2002, within a radius of 15 kilometers of the park boundary, despite the damage by lions, leopards, and the wild ungulates, crop damage and others. But apart from, but 15 miles, 35,000 within 15 kilometers, but 15 kilometers away, the thing was, the per hectare yield was between 11 to 15,000. There was much more water, there was much more precipitation. Incidentally, the most delicious mango in the whole world, in my opinion, even more so than the Alfonso, is a mango called Kesar, which grows best around within 15 kilometers. The same mango outside doesn't grow so well. The taste is different. Why? They also took into stock that if the government, instead of spending money, cuts the entire trees and gives it away to agriculture, what would be the benefit and what would be the benefit today? Today the benefit, as it is, on which they spend money and look after lands and whatever else and pay compensation, and that which goes outside. And if you would give it away to the local people, and it says the total economic value, the total income of thing would be 18 crores per year, 2002 figures, annually. If you cut it, and the revenue, the production thereof from it. Today, with the forest standing, it was 2,110 crores. This was the economic value. Now, we could do that to other parks. This is the gift. Is that not helping economically? Doesn't ecology help? Can you survive even if you lose ecological security? But votes, it doesn't get you votes. And the government will never come out. No study of this nature has been done afterwards. I've tried, Sarkar nahi manegi, says, they don't want it. There you are. So, let me come to science. You people are technicians, I'm not. And you understand science. I'm not a science thing. I could not break science. And you are mathematics people. And I can't understand mathematics. It's beyond me. Mathematics changed my life, actually. I wanted to be, I had done well in senior Cambridge school, got a first division, but I barely passed in mathematics. And I passed because of geometry and arithmetic. I couldn't understand algebra, and I don't understand it still. But they said if I have to take botany and science, I have to take mathematics. And I said, I'll plug. I can't do mathematics, and therefore I took history. And therefore, when I did my BA, I wanted to join the Indian Forest Service. He said, no, you can't. You don't have science. Fine. But therefore today, a DFO who has done his thing in mathematics can become a DFO. But those who have done their thing in zoology or botany, why must you have mathematics if you are reading zoology or botany or biology? But there you are. And therefore, I sat in the IAS. And when I wanted a PhD, the university had to give me a special dispensation after taking all my thing. Okay, he's not a science student, but we'll still give him a degree in ecology. Anyway, but there it is. The mental makeup, and you need to know about. And therefore, today, I'm sorry to say, you have forest officers who do not know, who come to know about chlorophyll and reverse osmosis and whatever else when they go to the forest academy. They don't know what chlorophyll is or what photosynthesis is, some of them. I'm sorry. But there it is. Now, am I getting late? Well, there are a few things that I would like to mention. The one is the application of science, which is so important in conservation, and that has had its impact. Unfortunately, we do not handle our resources the way science should tells us, but there it is. It's about not only camera trapping, but it's also about putting collars around and tagging them and seeing the flight. Status, distribution, science can contribute so much in conservation, and to the understanding of the functioning of certain ecosystems and life-supporting factors. Now, yes, one another little factor that I would like to mention. How much time do I have? 10 minutes? 5 minutes? I should end. I'll finish up very quickly. The sacrosanct nature of a park is very important. It's disturbance. It's linear intrusions which are causing disruption. And therefore, connectivity is very, very crucial. The sanctity of the thing would remain, would have to be conserved. And in that regard, the factor is that can we, to keep our thing, and to me, an animal taken out of nature is lost. It's all right if it's an animal threatened with extinction, where you need to have conservation breeding so that it is not made extinct in the wild. But then you have to rehabilitate in the wild. But here the objective is to keep them in captivity forever. But that is not conservation, because more important than the animal is the habitat. You can have the habitat without the animal. You cannot have a wild animal without the habitat, and it's the habitat which gives you these ecological benefits that I'm talking about. So it's not the one or the other. You have to have the habitat, and that is nature. And therefore, I'm coming to the heritage, and we are talking in the Heritage Center. We have so many heritage, and we're very proud to be. We have a cultural, religious, we have architectural, but there is also the national natural heritage, which is your natural forest and all the animals and the birds and everything else that lives on it. That heritage must not be destroyed. That heritage should be sacrosanct, at least survivals of the examples of it. If you cannot save the entire in its entirety because of human pressure, at least samples of it should be saved for posterity and for what they're worth. And if would you if you find diamonds below the Taj Mahal or oil below the Ajanta Ellora, would you blast? Or shouldn't say this. If you found lignite or anything else below the Ram Janma Mandir, would you relocate that mandir? If you cannot do that, then Karna and Kaziranga and the rest also, which are national monuments, they are creations of also nature and law and God. They also should be sacrosanct because they are, for the posterity, they are a national natural heritage. And India is one of the few countries in the world, and this people should know, which enjoins upon the people of India to protect as a fundamental duty. And there is no such thing as fundamental rights unless you exercise your fundamental duties. It's a quid pro quo, a sine qua non, that it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to protect forest and wildlife. Shall, not will. There is a difference in the legal terminology. Shall is a must. And the government and the directive principles of state polity, it also says this clearly. It shall be the duty of government, state and center, but government, to protect forest and wildlife. Now, breaking the constitutional law is worse than breaking any law. And we must realize whether we are doing it. You are doing it. And I was so happy to see this today. You are doing it. Is everybody else doing it? Well, they are breaking the constitution also. So that apart. And I will say this before I end. By citing Mahatma Gandhi, who said these immortal words, there is everything in nature for the need of everybody. There is nothing in nature for the greed of anybody. Are we going to save everything, only that, anything that needs after satisfying the need and the greed of everybody? Or are we going to save it for themselves because they are a natural heritage and they have a right and a constitutional thing to be safeguarded? I'll leave that part and now I'll go to the black buck and finish, if I may. It was such a revelation to me to see the thing, but I must say this, that these black buck need a little supplementary food. There is inbreeding, which is bound to happen. There is also lack of adequate food, mineral, salt, some of the grass species. It is not the ideal habitat, but they survive here because of you. And you need to be complimented for that. But there is something that can be done, and I'll be my pleasure and my privilege to help out to the extent I can, and I'll be in touch. But I would like to mention something, since I was asked to do so, something special about the black buck. If I may, can I take 5 minutes? No. फिर वो फोटा भी तो बताना है, mountains का, that's another quirk in my bonnet. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. There is hardly an animal more representative of India than the black buck. There are very few animals which actually evolved in India and are endemic to India, remained in India, never went out. The four-horned antelope, no godfather. The nilgai, the black buck. The four-horned antelope is the only animal in the world with 4 horns, but it's small. And people don't even know about him. And it's on his way out. This is it. We are blinded by certain animals. And I very caustically and sarcastically say, we suffer from a disease. We suffer from a disease called MMM, Mega Mammal Myopia, where we have seen the tiger, we've seen everything. We've not seen. I once took my chief secretary in Kana, and that day we saw 8 species, including sloth bear, which I was very. And I must have seen 6,000 animals. थैंक यू वेरी मच रंजीत, बहुत अच्छा रहा, लेकिन शेर नहीं दिखा. अरे यार, मैंने कहा शेर नहीं दिखा. And there are these people going around, gypsies, and sighting hui, and they charge the world. I know, you see, the whole thing is distributed and like a circle, and like a roulette wheel. And the man who has the thing where a tiger is seen, he then charges black money. A chap who went there to one park, in those days a gypsy cost 5,000 rupees per round, he paid 45,000 rupees because he had to show his son-in-law a tiger. God bless him. So, I mean, this is the thing, and yet we have such a plethora of wildlife. If you could only see, we go to ogle at animals. We do not go to savor nature. There is no communion with nature, and therefore they'd be happy to see. Amaka, why are you wasting money? Go and see a tiger in a zoo or a safari park. Why are you cluttering up? Go. If that is the only objective, don't come. They can't recognize some of these species. They don't appreciate it. And the mountains are the most of them all, and I'll come to that. But here you are, the black buck. So, the black buck, as I said, was only... and I mentioned that the animal that... it must have been so prolific at one point of time. Akbar used to have, according to Tuzukai Jahangir, the Jahangir used to maintain a daily diary. It's worth reading. Tuzukai Jahangir, in which he says, mentioned about the cheetah and the black buck, that his father, Akbar, had 9,000 cheetah in his entire reign, 50 years. And at 1,000 cheetah at one time in his pilkhanas. Each of them had to be given, because they are racehorse-like thing, they had to run. And this is what is not happening, and therefore they lose muscle. And these cheetahs, which have now been released in Kunu after so much incarceration, they have to be in training. So they used to be sent out to course even if the emperor was not there. So 1,000 cheetah at one time meant 1,000 black buck had to be killed by cheetahs every week in India. There was a whole thing lined up on thing. And I have seen black buck in the 40s from one end to the other. Must be 4,000, 5,000. One. And this is what it survived. So that was the thing. The people, as I was mentioning, everybody knows that the greatest monument ever made by man, or will ever be made by man, for another human being, in this case his own wife, was by Shah Jahan, the Taj Mahal. But nobody knows, or very few know, that the greatest monument ever made by a man for a wild animal was made by his father, Jahangir, for his favorite head black buck, Mansaraj. Mansaraj was captured in Sikhupura, close to Lahore, which was a favorite place for him, and he died and buried there, Jahangir. And he liked him so much that he made him the head black buck, chief, black buck in chief. And when he said, I have ordered that when Mansaraj goes by, all the sipais have to stand up and salute the head black buck. And where he was born, he built a huge thing which still stands, a burj, a fort-like thing, 3 stories, 2.5. And the ground on which he was born and captured, he said, no cheetahs, nothing. This becomes a sanctuary. And he put up a notice board where he says very poetically, and I haven't heard such a lyric anywhere for any animal, and I quote, in this enchanting place, a noble soul came onto this world. Mansaraj, black buck. Yeah, did he not have better things to do in ruling India? But there he was. So that was Mansaraj. But you have Point Calumet, which is the thing. Here, the white and the black have been mixed up by Maharaja of Bhamnagar, who was the first governor of Madras presidency after independence. And in my book too, there is that photograph, and that is also in Bhamnagar state. That photograph of the 2 males, black and the white. And when he was governor here, he brought them here and introduced them. So I saw one white here. And as I said, I think the Bishnoi should now be brought to IIT Madras to show them how black buck can be preserved. I don't want to delay anything more. I'm open to questions, but if somebody would like to see, the other thing is, my last book was on the mountain mammals of the world, because the mountains are special, and the mountain animals are special. You see, here I don't go to parks and sanctuaries, because parks and sanctuaries you see more human beings than you see animals. No, this is true. And, 80 cars lined up, and it's disgusting at times. And now the animals have lost total regard. Now, look, no animal should be afraid of humans, and humans should not be afraid of, but there should be mutual regard and respect. A lion goes past you. If I'd reached out, I would have touched his mane. He goes like this past you. In Bandhavgarh, one of our Madhya Pradesh National Park, I went there, and 2 days before, a French couple had been sitting there, and there were these 40-odd cars lined up, jeeps, and this tigress went past. And this woman was watching and taking a video, and the husband was behind with the guide. This tigress jumps in, catches him by the neck, knocks him down, and just walks away like nothing. I mean, she'd done nothing. I mean, say just, I don't like your face. ऐसे पकड़ के गिरा के चलती बनी. I mean, you can't have that kind of a thing. You see, we've lost a sense of regard for each other. Anyway, coming back to the situation in yes, the other thing was of the 2 subspecies. I have already mentioned thing, but you should have that kind of a if it can be, that we can show to the people of India the wealth that there is in the mountains, and use the animal, like the tiger was used to save habitats which are more important than the tiger itself. To me, the Tiger Project was a means to an end, not an end in itself. We saved the habitats, and we made it into a point that the selection of those habitats, 9, were of different types of tiger habitats, and the preference was given to those that had greater number of endangered species and who were level 2. Level 1 was already up there. Level 2, so that by the Project Tiger you could make it into. In Assam, for example, Kaziranga always had more tigers, but we selected Manas because Kaziranga was already well looked after thanks to the rhino. But Manas had the largest number of endangered species, and we used Manas to upgrade it. The tiger project. So it's a way of pushing something by using an animal. So if the snow leopard can be used to save the mountains, it would be a great benefit. Very briefly, in my book, The Mountain Mammals of the World, which has just come out in September last year, I've covered 119 species and subspecies, sorry. Of that, 86 are in Asia, of which 38 are because of Buddhism. That's another very important factor, the religious sentiment in wildlife, which I've covered in my first book. Buddhism. And some survives only because of the monasteries. And I've just 2 days ago, I've finished writing the wildlife policy of Ladakh, at the behest of the Lieutenant Governor. And we have to use that sentiment for the reason it is there. And it synchronizes with the Buddhist sentiment. So, and yet nobody knows what we have. The old undivided state of Jammu and Kashmir, undivided and unoccupied. The state of Kashmir, which was handed over Maharaja Hari Singh Ji to the Union of India in 48, had 30 of those species. 30 of the world. India has 30. Now, of course, we've lost to Pakistan quite a few. But we still have 28. 28 out of 119 of the whole world. And we don't even know about them. That is tragic. It's lack of, and unless you see them, and you see, you have this great feeling of freedom, of being away with being communal with nature, of aranya, which is sanctified in our scriptures. And there is a German word for it, which has no translation. Lebensraum, living space. You cast your eyes and you see no human habitation. You see mountains and you see forests. It's a wonderful experience. And I've never climbed mountains to climb peaks, but I climb mountains, see animals. And it's been a wonderful experience. Now, of course, at this age, I can only hobble, but I still go back. and there are kind people. And now the vehicle goes mostly, and I don't have to carry my camera bag. Somebody else does it. So, chalta hai. Jab tak chalega, tab tak jaunga. Can we see some of those photographs? Oh, there you are. Where do you start? So that's a mountain gorilla. The biggest ape in the world. Not the lowland, the mountain gorilla. Yeah, please. There is not a badal. Yeah, please keep on nothing. That's a snow leopard. That's a very good. Sorry? Snow leopard. Now, here, this is my photograph. Can you see him? He is right in the open. That's a lynx. The Tibetan lynx. And the magpies. Please go ahead. These are in my book. They are photographs taken up. Yeah, this is the wolf. The summer coat in the winter. Ladakh. Black bear. Musk deer. It's the most hunted animal in the world. This is our musk deer, that is the Russian. Well, this is the Caspian deer, maroon, and that's the one in the Bopiti from Lake Irkutsk, near Vladivostok. Wild yak, This is a painting from the greatest living painter of wildlife, Bateman, an old friend. This is the mountain goat from America, but it's a painting. The takin, the golden takin. We have the Bhutan takin and the Mishmi takin, but this is the Chinese one. This is your Varayadu, male and female, Eravikulam National Park, Kerala. The Markhor from Badakhshan, Ibex, Spiti, the greatest horned sheep in the world, Marco Polo. Marco Polo described them and said there are some huge horns, and everybody thought he was a liar, till the British Expeditionary Force, which went into for the Second Afghan War, got this specimen. The record specimen goes 75 inches. This is in the Pamirs, the roof of the world. Again, Pamirs, Marco Polo sheep. The wolves get them round in deep snow, and this is and slaughter them, kill them. So this is, and they called it the Argali, the Marco Polo cemetery. All these horns were lying around. Anyway, next one, please. Khatam ho gaya? Okay, right. Thank you very much.
That was a truly enriching experience. Thank you, sir, for your informative and inspiring talk.
So that brings us to the end of today's wonderful program. Now, Ms. Mamta Das, Senior Project Officer of the Heritage Center of IIT Madras, will present the vote of thanks.
William Arthur Ward, a motivational writer, once said, "Feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it." A warm and graceful evening to everyone. On behalf of entire team of Heritage Center, I extend a hearty thanks to our chief guest, Dr. Ranjitsinh, for sparing his valuable time and flying all the way from Delhi to grace the occasion. Sir, we are greatly inspired listening to your experience and the work you have done for the wildlife. We have no words to offer our gratitude for your presence here. A special mention and our deep sense of gratitude to our Professor in charge, Professor Sriram, for his unstinted support, vision, and commitment. I would like to express sincere thanks to Professor Susy Varughese, in charge Prakriti, the Wildlife Club of IIT Madras, for the collaboration and support. Thank you, ma'am, for your deep interest and excitement to organize this event. A must mention of gratitude to our Dean Administration Office, Dean Alumni and Corporate Relation, Team Archive, and ICSR facility for all the support to organize this event and make it successful. I am gratified to all the prize winners of Treasure Hunt, Classified Divertisement Contest, and all the audience for attending the event. Vote of thanks will be incomplete without thanking our operational head, Mr. Kumaran Sathasivam, for being the catalyst that stimulated us to do our best. Thank you, Team Art Heritage and people working tirelessly behind the scene. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.